good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another fine Wednesday here on the Coffee Break Chat. I'm your host, James Jackson, he, they pronouns. I'm the executive producer of Light Thief Productions. And with me this morning, we have a few regular guests and we have a few special guests, and obviously I am having camera issues. It happens from time to time. But we'll carry on and we'll see if we can't figure out the camera issues as we go. So with us this morning, we have Josh and Mariangela. Josh, Mariangela, if you guys would introduce yourselves, your pronouns, what it is you do.
My name is Mariangela Saavedra, she, her pronouns, and I am the theater program manager at Allens Lane Arts Center.
And I am Josh Hitchens, he, him pronouns. I'm a writer, director, and actor, and I am the director of Allens Lane's current show streaming this weekend, The Weir.
Awesome. And of course, we have as one of our regular guests, Dr. Ardencia Hall-Karambe, who's on mute right now, and looks like you're ironing something.
I'm in my studio making some pieces, copy pieces, some stuff, got to keep the hands busy, that kind of thing.
Awesome. So let's talk about the Weir a little bit. What is the Weir? Where can people see it? When is it available, etc.?
Great. I'm going to let Josh tell you all about the story, but I'll let you know that you can watch it this weekend. It's streaming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you would get a link and you can watch it as many times as you want in that period of time. And it's at Allens Lane Arts Center. So you go to allenslane.org to reserve a ticket and you can stream all weekend. It's wonderful. And Josh will tell you why it's so wonderful.
Sure thing. Yeah, The Weir's a one-act play written by a great Irish playwright named Conor McPherson, and it is about four men who go to a very rural, isolated bar in the north of Ireland on a dark and stormy night, and there they meet a woman named Valerie who has just moved to the area, and they decide to start telling her some stories about the folklore of the place. And those stories start getting scarier and scarier. It's a play full of Irish ghost stories, and also about human connection and wanting to find connection with people through storytelling. It's got a phenomenal cast of 5 actors, and I've had so much fun doing it.
Awesome. Any hints or tips or things that we should definitely look out for? Things in the production that were interesting to you as you discovered the production?
I mean, I have a bit of a history with the play. I was actually an actor in it 11 years ago in a production with Curio Theater Company. And I've always loved ghost stories, to read them. And I've also been a storyteller for the Ghost Tour of Philadelphia for 14 years now. So it's very much a part of my life and the things I love to do. And so it always had been in the back of my head to direct it one day. And with working with Allens Lane Theater, I was originally going to direct another play this season, but then of course we had to, change things because of the pandemic and everything. And I thought The Weir would be a perfect play to do virtually, because it's a small cast and it is about people who are feeling isolated, who are feeling lonely, who are coming together, to try and connect. And I felt that that's so perfect for our world right now. And it was really interesting figuring out how to direct and present a play over Zoom, because it was the first time I'd ever done that. And it was amazing to me how much was still kind of the same as directing in-person theater. You're still doing the blocking with like who's on camera, who's not, when are we in gallery view, when are we just seeing one person talking to us. and the camaraderie between the cast was really amazing to watch. You know, they really became a family and had such a chemistry together, despite having never been in the same room at all. So it was a really amazing experience, and it's the first virtual theater production I feel like I've watched where I felt closest to being in person in a theater, because there are five stories that are told throughout the play, and with those stories, that it's just that actor on screen talking right to you. And for me, what I watched it several times now, and I felt like the actor was talking to me, and it's very, very creepy as well in a way that's very fun. Nice night of Irish ghost stories.
Nice. I mean, everybody on the coffee break is usually involved in production in one way or another. It's interesting. It's always interesting to talk to and see how other folks are dealing with production in the digital world. So, I mean, obviously, you know, I've done some experimentation. Dr. Hall has done some experimentation with digital production. You guys are experimenting with this digital production. What, if any, interesting things have popped up in your estimation during this production process?
I can tell you a few of them. I did the editing of this piece, and you know, Zoom is an imperfect beast that always seems to be changing. And, you know, no sooner would I think, okay, I figured out what this does now, and I know how to work around this. And then I go in and it's like, oh no, now it's doing this. This is totally new, and it didn't do that before. And now how do I work around that? And that was definitely a challenge, but I love a good challenge. And, you know, this is the way we're creating art right now. And one of the things that sort of occurred to me, as Josh mentioned, this is an ensemble piece. It was very important to see these actors interacting with each other, because that's what makes the show work. You know, usually when you film something, right, you can start and stop and it's like, you know, action, here we go. But this show doesn't work that way. If you do that, you lose all this beautiful momentum and connection that these actors have performing together. So I really wanted to film it all together and just be like, let's film it once and let me edit this and get it, you know, in the way it can be, without having to interrupt them and without having to do that. And that was definitely a challenge, because Zoom does some really unusual things where it like adds screens that you don't see when you're filming, like, and you're like, wait, where did that screen come from? I didn't see that. It was ridiculous. And so it was, you know, a lot of, how do I eliminate that and still keep the essence of this piece and not interrupt this, you know, beautiful connection that these actors are having in this performance moment. So I learned a lot, and I'm sure by the time I do this for our last show of the season in May, it will all have changed and I will have to learn it all again. So
we did the Light Thief Productions along with some other folks did the 24-hour rally for the arts, and some of the technical challenges that came up are because of things like you're talking about, like, you know, suddenly, you know, YouTube changed its access model to accounts like the day before we were to go live. Suddenly we couldn't, you know, broadcast the way we had been intending to broadcast and had practiced for like 3 weeks. So, you know, yeah, it's an interesting thing to do live production in this day and age, and you have factors completely outside your control sometimes. It's also a fun little addition to most production.
I have noticed that people tend to be audiences tend to be pretty forgiving. Like, they understand. They're like, oh, you're doing the best you can with this medium. Like, and thank you for still creating art under these circumstances. So this was still enjoyable, and I'm sorry you had to go through that, but thanks for doing it, because we really liked it. So like that's really encouraging.
Yeah. Josh, what in your experience has been the change to like the directing? I know you were talking about like some of the similarities to approaching a piece in person, and how this really made you feel like you were in person with some of your actors. What are the differences? Like what sort of differences have you felt with and challenges have you faced with that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I'm a very sort of active director. Like when in rehearsal, I'm always like, I never sit down until we're like doing runs. Like I'm always standing and moving around, like running up on the stage and like giving notes, you know. So it was interesting to me to, you know, be confined, like I'm sitting in a chair in front of this screen the entire time, and to not be able to, you know, I mean, we're face to face with folks here, but it's different from being in person, face to face with someone. I think we all long for that, and hopefully those days are coming back soon. So that was a real challenge to think about, you know, how I can create that same kind of intimacy, that same kind of sense of being in a safe room where we can all work together and get to where we need to go and have fun while we're doing it. That was a really interesting thing to figure out, and I found that something that worked surprisingly well was just always taking like the first 10 or 15 minutes of rehearsal and just talking and letting people talk and be in the room and bring themselves to the room, you know, that it wasn't all about the work, because that's what you do in, you know, at the start of rehearsals when you're in person most of the time anyway. And when I first started rehearsals, I didn't do that. You know, I would like keep everyone in the waiting room until it was time for rehearsal to start, and then I would let everyone in and we'd work. And after a week or two of doing that, I was like, no, that doesn't work. Like we're missing that being together and creating that ensemble. So I found that taking that time to just talk and hang out and, you know, asking people about their days was really helpful in creating that sense of ensemble. And watching the recording of the Weir, you know, the times when folks are in gallery view and like everyone is always engaged and there's always something going on, you know, everyone is present and alive, and that really amazed me, that the cast was able to achieve that. One thing that I discovered weirdly that does not really work over Zoom is long pauses. You know, because in like live theater, you can have those like long pauses that are super charged with emotion, like characters are looking at one another. And on Zoom, like those moments just die. You know, if there's silence, even, you know, you can do like short little pauses, but if you try and do something long, the energy just drops dead, you know. So that was kind of an interesting thing to figure out. I was like, oh yeah, that's something that just does not work in this medium. So
that's yeah, I think that's kind of a holdover from broadcast. You know, any sort of broadcast medium, you always fill the air because dead air is a sign that something's gone wrong. Right. So yeah, it's that will cause things to happen that way. Dr. Hall, you raised your hand on your virtual hand. You have yourself on mute. Oh, there you go. What's up?
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question. Now that you of our guest, now that you have worked in this before, are you planning on continuing it afterwards, or are you going back to traditional theater or doing a combination as a company? You know, just a question.
I think so. One of my roles as a program manager is to cultivate some new programs for Allens Lane outside of sort of the classical theater realm. Yeah, I have a community voices series, and we're doing some children's theater, and we're doing you know, some readers theater. And I think in those auxiliary programs, I think there's a lot of room for figuring out how to integrate this, because the beauty of this medium is that we reach so many more people that couldn't be reached, if we, if it was just local, you got to come in, you have to travel in and see it, which of course is wonderful. And I think, live theater, when it comes back, like that's absolutely, we're doing live theater. but you're right. I've learned a lot that I think can translate into some of these other programs and as a way to engage more people broader than just those in our immediate community. But it'll still take some some figuring out.
Yeah.
Awesome. So one more time, just for everybody watching, where can they see you guys and see the show and get tickets, and when can they see the show and get tickets? And I know Meg has posted this on our Facebook chat. We'll post some links in the comments of our YouTube as well. But just verbally for everybody, where can we see this?
Josh?
Yeah, so the Weir is being presented through Allens Lane Arts Center. So to get tickets, you can go to www.allenslane.org, and you'll see the poster for the Weir right on the homepage, and you can purchase tickets that way. Tickets are only $15, and we are streaming for 3 days, Friday, March 12th, Saturday, March 13th, Sunday, March 14th. And once you buy a ticket, you will get a link to the show along with the virtual program. And once Friday comes around, you can watch the show anytime you like during those 3 days. You don't have to watch it at a specific time. It can be anytime you want, and you can watch it as many times as you want as well. And I hope you all join us. I think it's a really, really special piece of work. I'm very proud of it.
We've been, all of us producers have been experimenting with access to adding accessibility via things like, low-cost tickets, or letting people access the content whenever is convenient for their schedule. It's just interesting to see all the experimentation going on right now, and try and keep up with it and keep up with the results that people are getting. It's just been an interesting time. The ancient curse of may you live in interesting times. Yet sometimes, it can be a little helpful. At least we're getting somewhere with things like accessibility and the ability for people to see, like in these meetings, and then also on the broadcast, we have closed captioning turned on, so people who can't usually hear too well or pick up, sound for whatever reason, have the ability to read it, I've been fighting in a lot of meetings that I attend for people to turn on the transcription service in Zoom, just because for me, I go to so many Zoom meetings. Sometimes it's easier just to, like, I can't follow the actual meeting, so I read the transcription and then respond as we go along. But yeah, it's really interesting to see all the experiments in accessibility that everybody has been making, and I'm really encouraged by all of our experiments. They seem to be going in a positive direction for the most part. So the rest of the conversation, hopefully, if you want to stick around, feel free to interject. We're going to cover some topics that we have for today, some news from the past week, and feel free to interject or comment or talk as you see fit. You guys can see you're on screen. Feel free to drop off if you need to, but I welcome you to the conversation. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the free press. We have right now a issue going on, a court case, but it is this particular court case is a symptom of a bigger problem. There is a court case right now involving a reporter, I believe in Wisconsin. There's about 120 total still pending charges of reporters who were reporting on civil unrests and protests in during the summer. And you know, that's something that should not be happening in any sort of way. I mean, I'll just say it outright. This should not be happening. There should be no time at which an officer feels comfortable enough to arrest a reporter in the act of their doing their job and reporting on an event. I don't know what you guys think. I hold this particular freedom, the freedom of the press, the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, kind of inviolable. And I don't think our country works without it. You know, and so interestingly, some folks have brought up the race of the reporter who is currently in court. They went to a jury trial. The prosecutors tried to offer some sort of
plea deal
for the plea deal. The reporter and the representatives of the reporter, including Amnesty International and some other big press freedom groups, were like, yeah, no, we've got enough lawyers. I don't, why, where did we lose this ability for the press to operate? When did we become one of these countries?
Fake news. Fake news. I'm not gonna even let you finish the question.
Right.
I'm not gonna even let you finish the question, dude.
Yeah.
I think we lost it.
Did y'all lose me?
No.
No, I was about to say something.
Okay. I was gonna say, you know, when you begin to taint the water, it begins to all other forms of custom become loose. And one of the things that 45 did in the continuous rhetoric of saying fake news, he began to taint the water. And so people began to take news and news outlets as being less important, that they are frivolous, that they are subjective, and felt that they had there was the freedom of the press went out the window with that. You know, why should I allow that freedom when you're going to manipulate it and not utilize it because you're fake? So I think that had a lot with the way we began to look at news and news outlets. I'm done now. Thank you.
Interesting. Why then? It takes more than just one bad term of presidency to sway the the social zeitgeist, right? Though.
Well, I think that if a police officer is perfectly comfortable with taking human life and not worrying about any kind of punishment, what is it to him to stop a reporter from reporting something live? If he or she is committing the ultimate crime, which is murder, and walking away, stopping you from broadcasting and stopping you from recording a certain politician that has a certain interest that you may not agree with is easy. Because if I can murder, then stopping you from broadcasting is nothing. Because I'm already committing murder and I'm walking. So it's like
agreed. And if you're And if it's during a time of an administration that is allowing and kind of almost co-signing on certain things, then it becomes much easier to get away with. I don't think we would, I think with the current administration and even ones before 45, I don't think we would have seen, we've never seen reporters being treated in this manner. You know what I'm saying? I think 45 may have only been in there for 4 years, may have been only one administration, but that was a toxic motherfucker. And he just, I'm just saying, and that toxicity is so potent that it has just dirtied the water for under so many things that we thought were almost untouchable, you know, that were so institutionalized that we thought it would never break, even under someone like, and we watched it, and we watched it January 6th. We watched it so many times during that administration, you know, go over the cliff. Yeah.
How do we come back from that though? Like where do we I mean, you know, personally, you know, one of the reasons I'm doing these broadcasts is because I think that this is one of the ways that we come back from it is talking about it and talking against it. But where's the accountability? Who can hold this accountable? Who can? I mean, personally, I think that that there should be, you know, like the prosecutor in this case has all the power here. They could have chosen to literally drop the case, and that's what usually happens in cases where reporters, media personnel, people doing their job during you know, like it's a, you know, yeah, okay, so a cop might accidentally arrest somebody, even if they're saying, oh, I'm media, you
accidentally
know.
Wait,
Okay,
what?
so they might legitimately arrest, they might think that their arrest is legitimate, in that they might think that, oh, this is just a protester trying to get away with something, right? That's at least what I would assume would be the argument. But the prosecutor, in most cases like this, the prosecutor sees it for like a half a second and goes, oh yeah, no, sorry officer, you effed up, we're not going to press this case. There's seemingly no accountability there for these prosecutors who literally make their bread and butter based off of their prosecution record, regardless of whether the people that they successfully prosecute are guilty or innocent. I mean, there was an exchange with John Fetterman and over the matter of a man who had been arrested 20 some years ago, and over the murder of his ex-girlfriend's mother. So this man allegedly murdered his ex-girlfriend's mother. The case against him was entirely based on the testimony of the ex-girlfriend, who said that that she found him with her mother's body. But there was physical evidence on the scene, which was a knife that was used in the murder. And the man had at the time maintained his innocence and still maintains his innocence, and says that if you examined the knife, his DNA would be found nowhere on it. I forget why this was brought back into back into current court hearings. But the prosecutor said that, quote, even if the DNA evidence exonerated him, he'd still be guilty. How is...
Are you breaking up, or are you doing it on purpose?
No, I'm like, this hurts.
I'm doing that on purpose. I'm doing it on purpose.
Why are you shocked, though, James? Why are you shocked? I am no longer shocked. It's like America has become the crackhead uncle that's in and out of recovery all the time, and then he steals your purse, and then you're surprised.
Ooh, crackhead.
He's still a crackhead. Like, come on, man. Like, we had an entire group of people who had what they call an insurrection, who are nothing more than domestic terrorists, and only a few shots were fired. Now, bear with me. If that was me and 30 or 40 of my people of color friends, how would it have looked? Okay, so we send him to trial, and then we send the guy who we know promoted this insurrection, and nothing happens. So why are you shocked?
Why am I shocked? I
don't understand. Are you still giving America credit that, oh, it's going to be different this time? And I'm not trying to sound like a complete opposite of an optimist, but pessimist, but like, why are you shocked? I'll be shocked if they did get prosecuted. I'll be shocked if Trump went to jail. I'll be shocked if all those people went to jail. I will be like, wow, really? And it's sad because I'm no longer shocked. I'm shocked when we don't see another body being killed, whether he's white, black, or Asian, by a police officer in a month. I'm shocked by that.
I'm not shocked. I guess shocked would be the wrong. It doesn't compute is why the pause is like it does. Like I try to be a very logical person. I think that my wife asks me this all the time too. Like why are you always surprised? People are people. I don't know. And speaking of, people of color doing the same thing, or, politicians are straight up taking advantage of January 6th. Kentucky passed a bill that made it a crime to insult or taunt a police officer. Get the heck out of here. Come on. I mean...
What happened to freedom of speech, man?
Right.
James, it's very simple. Until you see diversity,
as long as I don't touch it.
Right. Until you see diversity, and I'm talking about age brackets, economic backgrounds, educational backgrounds, until you see diversity in every single echelon of the government, we stop having these men with lifetime memberships and lifetime tenures, you're going to see the same results, because it's always going to be a good old boys club. It's always going to be people who don't see themselves and people who are being persecuted or treated unjustly, and you're going to see the same outcome. We need a complete overhaul. And no one's talking about that. We need immediate punishment for people that do these kinds of crimes. Not a long, lengthy, televised hearing so that everybody can get raised and sell more power. We need an immediate punishment. If I do a crime right now at the corner store, I'm immediately going to jail for 20 years. Immediately.
If you make it to jail, bro.
Exactly. But if I have a political
because
backing,
you and your 50 friends of color who had done the insurrection, y'all, there would be a lot more body bags.
Come on, they bomb move at 5:30 on a Thursday.
Okay.
Like, really? I was watching Family Feud, and boom, they blew up an entire block. So I mean, you have to have an overhaul. We're going to have the same results over and over until we get these old ass people who are out of touch with what goes on in the real world, and not only out of touch, they don't care what's going on in the real world. They don't care that everyone in this group is different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different sexes. They don't care about that. It's money first and nothing else. That's it.
Well, and I think that's where we get on the selfish people. I'm really sick of selfish people.
Yeah.
Like I don't know when or how or why selfishness became a virtue, but it seems to be right now. It seems like people treat selfishness as a virtue. It is not.
Around the time when we broke away from England. Mine. Didn't we help y'all plant corn?
Didn't we get kidnapped from our homeland and end up building
right?
the
Stop
most
bringing
of
up
the
old
country?
stuff. Get
Oh,
over
oh,
it.
sorry.
It's not
Sorry.
February
That's in the
anymore.
past. That's in the past. Anyway,
All right. New stuff then. That's selfish. Senator Sinema, with her thumbs down curtsy while carrying a piece of cake on the Senate floor, voting no on the minimum wage amendment. There's a lot of going back and forth amongst with her nice little skirt too.
And I have had people who are against the increase of minimum wage. I said, listen, you work at a fast food restaurant, you take crap from everybody for 12, sometimes 13 hours a day. You don't make enough money to pay your rent, buy a car, have insurance, have car insurance. And someone that makes $300,000, and I've seen them sleep during a major Senate meeting, is saying that you don't deserve more money. And then you're saying, well, why is there so much crime? Why are the neighbors so dilapidated? Because desperation builds crime.
Yes.
You can't keep putting $1,200, $2,500 condos in so-called bad neighborhoods and not think, for lack of a better word, people are not going to start fucking you up. Because I'm struggling to pay rent in my shitty one bedroom with roaches and stuff, and I gotta look at this dude with a condo. I'm not saying it makes it right, but you're not providing jobs to level out that condominium or that thing. You're building all this housing for people who can't afford it. You're increasing the property tax, and you're pushing people who've been there for 40, 50 years out. And you wonder why they're pissed. Huh?
Yeah. And then
how are you not for raising the wage?
Literally a day after posting doing her downvote on the minimum wage amendment, Senator Sinema releases this screed about supporting minimum wage increase. I don't understand. And what also bothers me is that the whole fight over the minimum wage has completely pushed out of the mainstream, the fact that this was a fight over a minimum wage increase to $15 by 2025. Over the next 5 years, this is supposed to be increased to $15 an hour. Like, what? How is... I know. You're gonna ask.
I'm sorry. I just love James' confused expression. He's like, but I don't. I love it.
I feel like,
I mean, there really is no justification for it. It's like, it's not immediate. We're talking, people are already struggling now.
Yeah.
And we're asking them, and by 2025 to bring minimum wage up to $15. Factor in inflation is going to continue right there. By the time we get to 2025, that $15 is still going to be $7.50, $7.25, whatever the minimum wage is now. It's not like it's a magic bullet that's going to happen today. Even though people need it. Even though it should, people need it today. People need it right now.
One of the good things that may be somewhat of a magic bullet, and that's been pushed also out of the news, is the $300 a month childcare benefit for that's in the bill that did pass and didn't get a lot of attention. But I'm actually encouraged by reading about it. I don't know if you all have heard about it, but so basically, for those who don't follow politics as closely as I do, the COVID Relief Act, which still hasn't been signed into law yet. It should be signed into law by the end of the week. There's nobody pushing back on any elements that are still left in it. One of the elements that got pushed out of it was the $15 minimum wage amendment. But one of the elements that got left in it and hasn't received a lot of pushback is that a drastic increase to the child care tax credit which will actually be delivered as checks for at least the next year, starting in, I believe it's slated to start in July, according to the law. As of July, almost anyone who is a single parent and earns up to, I believe, $112,000 a year, or is in a two-parent household and earns up to $150-something thousand a year, will be getting a check from the federal government for $300 up to $350 for every child that they have. The checks are weighted by income and a couple of other factors, but where this differs from the past is that in the past, child care tax credit and child care credits used to be associated mostly with people who work, people who earn an income, and people who earn above poverty income, because if you didn't owe taxes, you couldn't get the child care tax credit. So this is a complete reversal of that, and what has been a Republican drive for the past 50 or so years. It's an interesting reversal, and nonpartisan estimates say that over 60% of Black children in poverty will be immediately lifted out of poverty, and over 45% of white children in poverty will be immediately lifted out of poverty. And some estimates, I forget the locality of the estimate, but there were some local estimates, smaller geographic area estimates that showed that I believe in the DC area, the average Black family would be receiving about $600 from this expansion of the child care tax credit. The average Latino family would be receiving about $500, and the average white family would be receiving about $400, which is interesting. And some folks are starting to point to that as a sign that the law is inequitable, but I need to point you at history real quick. The law is equitable because it levels the playing field, is trying to correct an inequality that exists. Anyway, sorry, I'm off on a rant. But so this is cool. This is cool to me. Anyway, just because it much like many of the things that we try to do for children, and then the federal government somehow manages to mess up. This seems to be something that will actually help and is guided by the federal government. I think this is pretty cool. You know, it's basically $300 to help take care of your child every month, and should help vastly in the economic recovery. Any thoughts from any of you guys? I'm sorry, feel free to jump in. I'm just rambling on about this. I just think it's cool.
I think it's a great deal too. As a parent, I think it's great. I mean, that pays, you know, a couple of weeks of childcare that the parent doesn't have to worry about. You know what I'm saying? And that gives them the ability to put a little bit more food on the table, to cover other bills, you know, especially since we're not getting the minimum wage increase, but it will, you know, help subsidize some families in really good ways. So, and I think everybody is going to benefit, and it would be, and for the next generation, leveling the playing field for the next generation would be a lovely thing. You know what I'm saying? Something that as a nation, we will all benefit from. You know?
I see it as
take care of the babies.
I see it as breathing room Like you can do so much more when you have some breathing room. You know, people, it affects mental health. It affects your relationships with your family. It's so much more. And it's beyond about time where, you know, yeah, if we can't give them that breathing room by increasing minimum wage, which is truly what we need to be doing. But this is definitely a step in that direction. And as a parent, my child is an adult now, but I remember when he was younger and thinking, you know, childcare is a big deal. And if I could just have a minute of breathing room, I would feel like my head was above water and that would help. And that's what I think this might, you know, be able to do, which is about time.
Awesome. Speaking of breathing room, I have this sitting on my desktop I wanted to bring up. Excuse me. So I received this March 8th, but starting February 15th, that's last month, guys, through May 15th, the healthcare.gov has a special enrollment period for the healthcare Obamacare enrollment. So if you don't have healthcare right now, and you lost your job, you lost your healthcare, you know, why is healthcare tied to employment? This is a whole long rant again. But if you don't have healthcare right now, and we're in the middle of a pandemic, you might think it might be a little bit important. Go to healthcare.gov, see if you can get some healthcare for yourself. See if there's any plans out there that might help you. So yeah, that might give you a little bit of breathing room as far as that goes. I know if I didn't have healthcare right now, I'd be a lot more nervous. And a lot of this comes down to just the social impacts, in my opinion. You know, how do you take care of a child? How do you take care of your obligations without having that backup, having those little bits of backup from the federal government, from the society that we all live in. You know, that's how a lot of these programs were started, is that, you know, a fair and just society, and one of the richest in the world, should be able to provide housing, food, healthcare, and a basic income to all of its citizens, regardless of who they are or what they're doing otherwise. So maybe we can get on that. In other beneficial news, vaccinations are ongoing here in the city of Philadelphia. Folks are getting vaccinated. We're still technically in the 1B category. That includes anybody with any sort of health complications that might make you a little bit more susceptible. Comorbidities literally means you have a higher chance of death because you also have this condition. So comorbidities for death from COVID-19, including obesity, diabetes, many diseases are comorbidities, things that you wouldn't even really think of. And then also pregnant folks are considered in 1B, I believe. And I don't know about all you. I've signed up for information from the city government and from the Black Doctors COVID Consortium to see if anybody, you know, when I'm supposed to be eligible for this. I'm a relatively healthy individual. Even if I wasn't, I know there's some folks out there that could use this more than me right at the moment, so I haven't really been pushing on it. But I recently was looking, my wife is pregnant, so I was recently looking at the availability of vaccines for pregnant women, and didn't realize that the Black Doctors COVID Consortium clinics are operating as a no appointment necessary if you fall into an available category and are also live in a highly affected zip code. So if you if you live in the city of Philadelphia and you're looking to get vaccinated, go to Black Doctors COVID Consortium website and check if you are in one of the zip codes that is highly affected. It's important, and they're definitely helping folks out. Their clinics are not by appointment, so and their clinics are free. Current zip codes are 19119, 19120, 19121, 19123, 19124, 19126, 19131, 19132, 19133, 19134, 19135, 19137, 19138, 19139, 19140, 19141, 19142, 19143, 19144, 19146, 19149, 19150, 19151, and 19153. So if you live in any of those zip codes, you are considered
I can go.
Yeah, you can go. You live in a zip code with the highest incidences of COVID-19 disease and death during the pandemic. And if you're a person who matches phase 1B, which if you live or work in a congregate setting, if you're over 75, or if you are a person in a high-risk medical condition, that means you have a comorbidity. If you're a first responder, if you're a person working with high-risk populations, if you work in public transit, food distribution, prep, or service. So if you are a waiter or a cook, if you work in childcare or education. In fact, Pennsylvania just announced last week that all of Pennsylvania counties free vaccinations are available for any education provider in an effort to get everybody back into school. High volume essential retail. I don't know what that means. A retail essential. Not sure.
It means really good socks. Really good socks.
Really good socks. Okay. Well, I guess it could be like CVS workers. That could be essential retail. Pharmacies. And manufacturing of critical goods. So that's also food manufacturing. So I guess that's relatively essential. So if you are one of those folks who works at a meat packing plant, go get yourself vaccinated so you don't die, please. We need you. We need everybody around. But yeah, go get your vaccines. I know I've been talking a lot about go get your money, but go get your vaccines. Last 3 minutes of the broadcast. Anybody have anything? Oh, one more thing on vaccines. Lyft, the rideshare company, is offering free rides to and from the vaccination clinics. So if you don't have transportation, and you need transportation to get to a vaccine clinic, consider downloading and installing the Lyft app, or get your friendly younger neighbor to do it for you. I'm more than happy to order a Lyft or two for folks trying to get vaccines. So help folks out. We try to help folks out as much as we can. Any other last minute things from you guys? I'll cover benefit programs and grants in a few moments.
Well, I would like to make an announcement for people who are involved in theater, BTAP, the Black Theater Alliance of Philadelphia. We've now posted a mentorship initiative. So we're looking for mentors, people who are in mid-career, that mentoring people who are just getting started. So we're looking for people to do that. There is a small stipend with that. So you could go to our blacktheaterphilly.org website and look there. And there's an application there. So we're looking for people to work with people who are interested in the business. So if you have time to spare, please lend us your expertise.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to cover, after I say my goodbyes here in the overtime, I'm going to cover some information on PPP and EIDL, SVOG, and a couple other grant programs that are out there, a little bit of economic news. But I won't hold you guys on. If you gotta go, you gotta go. If you want to stick around, stick around. I'd like to thank my guest Josh and I'm sorry, I'm gonna screw up your name again.
Mariangela, 2 names for the price of one.
Awesome. Mariangela. Thank you again. And Alan's Lane. Hope that everybody comes to see your show this weekend. Really appreciate you hanging out and chatting with us. Thank our regular guests, Jay and Dr. Hall Karambe. I'm gonna get on to some economic news. Unless like I said, feel free to stick around. But it is 11:01 and I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to do whatever it is that they need to do. So tune in next week for another coffee break chat. We really appreciate having you on. If you like what you see and you like independent news, independent opinion, feel free to donate to our Patreon, patreon.com/likebeefproductions. Like and share this broadcast either on Facebook or YouTube. Feel free to also subscribe to our Mob Crush, our Twitter, our Twitch. We stream on all of those platforms as well. And so it becomes a little more accessible. Get these opinions out there, get this news out there. Anyway, so thank you again for joining us for another Wednesday, another coffee break chat, and tune in next week. We'll have more guests and more news and more fun stuff to talk about. And I'm gonna go over to some economic news. Thank you. Peace out. So in economic news, right now one thing I'd like to bring everyone's attention to is the fact that the application period for the payroll protection program, the PPP, is expiring at the end of March. So we are at March 10th. If you haven't found your way to a bank who can service your PPP loan by now, make your way there within the next couple of days. The period for application that was dedicated to smaller businesses has expired as of yesterday. But smaller businesses are still encouraged to apply. It's just that now your application will be considered along with larger businesses seeking funding. And that's not a big deal. Smaller businesses are still getting loans. And so we still encourage you all to apply. And in other economic news, the SVOG, the Shutter Venue Operators Grant, there has been no information released about the SVOG or how it's going to be administered or how it's going to be released at this point. So we're coming up to a time where you'll have to make a decision if you are a small company and you want to get money to support your company, if you're a small producer, etc. You'll need to decide which program you feel is right for you. Unfortunately, nobody can advise you on that except for you. So feel free to apply for whatever program makes you feel better. But it looks like you're not even going to be able to apply for the PPP and the SVOG and see which one you can get. Aside from the fact that the SVOG is mutually exclusive to the PPP. You weren't supposed to apply for the PPP and then apply for the SVOG as well. Aside from that fact, it looks like you're going to be completely unable to apply for both because it looks like they're holding off on the delivery of those terms until after the SVOG or the PPP has expired. So that's difficult news. I personally don't think that's good news. I think that our economic recovery is going to be reliant on getting people as much money as possible. And this is a very strange and difficult way to deal with businesses that might meet more than one category. For the SBA to not have released any sort of guidance on how they're going to administer the SVOG, but also make it completely mutually exclusive with the PPP. I don't know necessarily what they're doing there. It doesn't seem like a good idea. At any rate, in other economic news, also, there is a lot of inflation hype going around. You'll see a lot of people arguing that this 1.9 trillion COVID relief plan and looking towards the future at any other COVID relief is a bad idea because it'll drive inflation. And I'm not an economist, but the economists that I do read mostly say that's bullshit. Mostly say that's uneducated bullshit. There's a lot that can drive inflation, but in the modern era, inflation driven by an attempt to recover from a massive pandemic doesn't seem to be one of the risk factors for inflation. So I highly doubt that inflation is going to go radically out of hand just because we're trying to recover from a pandemic. So, feel free to write your senators, your congresspeople, your representatives that this recovery is essential. the recovery funds are essential, that you feel that that $15 an hour is essential as a minimum wage, and get them working on that. There's not much time before the midterm elections. We're almost there. So get them working on that, because it's all up to them. And that's what I got for you this week. Go get your money. Go get your money. And sorry, my cat just kicked my camera out of whack. Anyway, go get your money. Help the economic recovery. Get the money flowing through the economy again. You know, if you need more information on how to apply for the PPP, the EIDL targeted grants. Oh, the EIDL targeted grants, by the way, still not being distributed yet. They may be distributed this week. But if you haven't received your email about your EIDL targeted grant and you qualify for an EIDL targeted grant, be sure to check out the broadcast from last week where we discussed emailing the SBA and getting updates on your targeted grant. It's an easy enough thing to do. And the SBA should be pretty responsive and get you information as soon as the next day. So all of that being said, go get your money. Enjoy this nice weather day. Probably false spring number 2. But we should be warm here for a couple of days, and get out, take a walk, wear your mask, please. Just because it's spring does not mean that the pandemic is over. Just because some people are getting vaccinated doesn't mean you can't get sick. Please don't get sick. Please don't get others sick. Wear your mask. Be not selfish. Think about other people just a little bit. It's always nice to do that. Again, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, this is a completely independent news channel. We pay our reporters and, you know, try and get you the latest news. And we pay our production people. We don't pay me. So support our channel by subscribing on Patreon, patreon.com/LightThiefProductions, and give us a few bucks. Rates as low as $1 a month get you access to exclusive content, exclusive news, upcoming announcements, things like that. There are higher levels which give you more access and more input into our process, the more support you give, the more info we can get out there. The more reporters we can get out there, the more stories we can write, the more stories we can concentrate on. So yeah, support independent media. There's a lot of us out here, but if you support us, you get away from the sole narratives that exist in media, and we bring you independent ideas, independent stories, independent opinion. So thanks again, and tune in next week. Light Thief Productions on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Mob Crush, Twitch. We're available on all of those platforms, and if there are any platforms that you'd like to see that we're not on, let us know. And so thank you again, and tune in next week.